This is travel tracker training for finance users and transportation users who are responsible for posting payments and marking the invoices as paid in the travel tracker. There are two ways to post payments, from the Finance Department tab and from the Invoices tab. We will look at both ways. When the person who is responsible for posting payment signs on, they have access to the Finance Department tab and the Invoices tab. Under the Finance Department tab, you have these options. We have provided an easy way to see only outstanding trips that require the payment to be posted, regardless of what invoice they are on. When you click on the Finance Department tab, you will see the default is pending payment by location. You have the option to review trips by requesting location, by invoice status, by the date sent, by the trip type, by the field trip event, and by the athletic event. You can also choose by trip number. These are your sorting options. Notice the default invoice status is payment sent. Generally, payment sent will give you a view of trips that have had the payment sent by the school secretary, although this status may be used in other ways. As you mark items listed as paid, the total will calculate. The print button on this screen will print out the invoices listed. If you click on the Tips for Receiving Payment button, you will get additional help for posting payments. These are the tips for receiving payment. You're going to click on the school you are working with from the drop-down filter. Optionally, you could select the check date from the date drop-down for the date that the check was sent. This might help you narrow down the selection to the trips that were paid on a particular check. Click on the Paid checkbox next to each trip that you are receiving. The total will adjust as you click each item. You can confirm your total against the check total. Enter a reference number or a journal number or a batch number if desired. Then click on Confirm. This will mark all items and clear the total. Let's work through how we would do this. When a school writes a check to pay for trips, typically they will attach that check to a document listing all of the trips being paid with that particular check. You can use the Requesting Location drop-down to pick the school that's paying for the trip. You can also use the Date Sent drop-down to choose the date that the check was sent. You also have filters for the type of trips, field trip events, and athletic events. You also have a drop-down for the trip number if that makes it easier to find the invoice. Now let's take a look at the trips. Notice the information you have is in a summary form. You have a trip number, the requesting location, and who submitted the trip, the date and time of the trip, the type of trip, whether it was a field trip, an athletic trip, possibly a staff trip, and the destination is included, grade levels, and information about the team or the sport that traveled. You also have the vehicle number and vehicle information, driver information, for example, the driver's name, the rate per hour, the number of hours they were paid for, and the total driver cost. You're also able to see the round-trip mileage and the cost per mile. If you see mileage entered, that means that the Transportation Department has entered in the actual odometer readings to determine the actual mileage. If you don't see mileage entered, this is using the estimated round-trip miles from the Google Maps interface. The total cost column gives you a summary breakdown of the mileage cost, any other cost, which could include driver cost, as well as other fees and charges, and then the total. The last column is actions. In this column, you're able to see invoice numbers, the overall status of the invoice, and the total cost, as well as any funding information, budget codes, check numbers, and dates that the invoice was approved, and the dates that the school secretaries wrote the check and sent the check. And then you have an action checkbox of paid or do not bill. These are the two options that you will be using. If you have received a check, you can confirm the check number. As you mark those as being reconciled and paid, Notice that the words pending change comes up, and if we scroll up, we will see the total for those marked paid. Now we can confirm this total checked paid and the total on our check. If necessary or desired, you can enter in a batch number. You could make any comments. Then confirm your changes. Click OK. Now the status of those invoices will be changed to paid. The information will be included as far as your reference number or batch number and any comments you may have included, as well as the date that those invoices were paid. Those invoices will also contain a green $sign as a visual cue that those invoices have been paid. Let's look at that. We can change our status from payment sent to paid, and then we'll be able to see a view of all of the trip requests that we have paid the invoices. Notice here we have check numbers and reference numbers, and then the $sign and the date that we marked this particular invoice paid. If you need to review the invoice, click on the trip number to open the invoice. The top part of the invoice indicates the trip number and the details about the trip. You can see the funding information. The ending vehicle use section contains the driver cost, assistant cost if applicable, mileage cost, fuel cost if applicable, other vehicle and other invoice cost if applicable. As we scroll down to the bottom, you will see the information for payment. When you are marking a trip as paid, click on the Paid button. You can enter a batch or journal entry and a comment. Once you click Paid, you will see your user ID listed in the Paid By section. Here. You can enter in your journal numbers and again any comments. Notice you can also add supporting documents into the invoice if necessary. There will be a trash bin to the right of the file if you need to remove it. Be sure you click Save and Close and OK. Let's look at some of the other options you have in the Finance Department tab. Payment by Trip Number allows you to use the drop-down to choose a trip number, or you can simply key in a trip number. Click Enter, and it will bring up that trip for you that you can work in the invoice if needed. You can also use a sort to just see invoices that have been marked approved for payment or invoices that are not approved for payment. In other words, they're still pending. You have other sorts for pickup date, requesting location, trip number, which will put them numerically by owner and vehicle number. And then you can also enter in your check number or a reference number if marking paid. And of course you have your Confirm Changes button. So you can work from this screen. Invoices by Status gives you a drop down to choose any status of invoices and view them. Once you've filtered, you can use your sorting. The next option is for trip request by location. This gives you a view of all the trip requests in the system. You can filter on a particular school. You can also look at trips from the past by looking at all trip dates, but the default is trips from this day forward. Notice you also have sorts. Trip request by trip number allows you to view all trip requests in the system by trip number. And again, you can use the drop down or you can type in the trip number and enter. Accessing the trip request from these two options will take you to the trip request form, not the invoice. The option Require Third-Party Payment gives you a view of any trip requests that have indicated they need a third-party payment check from the school bookkeeper to pay for the venue, perhaps the admission to the zoo or the museum. You do have visibility of these Most districts, the finance department is not responsible for these, but some could be. You also have options to display the special invoices that could have been created from transportation. To view any special invoices, use the trip type drop-down and select the type of special invoice you need to view. Then, click the Apply Filters button. The Trip Inquiry and Assignment Inquiry options take you to the Trip Inquiry and Assignment Inquiry. The Trip Inquiry and the Assignment Inquiry are very useful features in the travel tracker. Notice that there is an embedded video for the Trip Inquiry, and the Assignment Inquiry works very much like the Trip Inquiry, only it takes you to information about assignments. Let's take a look at the Invoices tab. Click on the Invoices tab to see all invoice information. The invoices are broken out by non-yellow bus and yellow bus. Invoices are compiled into a monthly total that shows in the list. For example, the invoice number includes the school number, a 2-digit year, a 2-digit month, and a letter that indicates if it's an athletic trip, A, a field trip, F, or staff trip, S. So, these invoices are for field trips, a yellow bus, for January of 2000 for school 334. The list allows you to easily identify which invoices still have trips where the payment has not been posted. Invoices that show an amount due have trips associated with them that are ready to be paid. Each monthly invoice is comprised of individual trips from that month. Click on the invoice number to open up the details of the trips from that month. Each invoice provides detailed information regarding the individual trips that comprise the invoice. You can mark these as paid, but you have to open the invoice by clicking on the trip number and scrolling down. You can add a reference number by filling in the reference number box, or batch number or journal number, and clicking paid. Note that you can print the invoices. Here is a print button, and here is a print button. Other options on your Invoices tab include viewing invoices that are not approved for payment. In other words, invoices that are still pending. These trips may not have occurred yet. They may be in the future. Or trips may have occurred and the transportation department has not received all the information from the drivers, and transportation may not have marked these invoices as approved for payment. There is an option where finance can enter mileage and driver hours if necessary. Again, you can view your invoices by trip number. You can view invoices by the funding approver. You can view invoices by the athletic assignment. And if your schools use the Yellow Bus invoices, you can view your Yellow Bus invoices by month and year. You also have an option to display special invoices and, again, your trip inquiry and your assignment inquiry. Click on the Reports tab. Be sure you view the Travel Tracker tip for reporting basics to learn how to export data into an Excel spreadsheet. The other tabs that are options to you are the Main tab. From the Main tab is where you could submit a trip request if you ever needed to. There will be an embedded video explaining how to submit a trip request. The Calendar tab contains calendars for you. Each of the calendars has an embedded video to give more information about those. The Travel Tracker also provides excellent support and training. In the upper right corner, you can always access the support and training links. We have training videos and quick reference guides available to you. If you click on each of these links, other training videos are available for finance, and there are quick reference guides in the quick reference links. You can also chat with our support desk in the lower right corner. If you see the blue icon, that means that the support desk is open and agents are ready to talk with you. You can live chat with them. If it's outside business hours, weekends, or holidays, you can create a support ticket here. Give us your contact information and a description of the problem or question and submit. We're ready to help. I hope you have found this training helpful and are ready to manage and post your payments into the travel tracker. Thank you.